One. Hello, hello. Hey, everybody. This is Jynnette the Oracle from Innocent Alchemy. As you know, this is Conversations with the Oracle, a new conversation series that I'm doing with people that I know in my own world, just to, basically shoot the shit, but also big them up as well because I just know some amazing people. And y'all know I love using my platform to showcase them and to bring attention to, their amazing work, whatever it is. So I am joined this week by the lovely, the beautiful, the fantabulous, the multidimensional, the
Oh my God.
I gotta give like all the verbal flowers to Reverend Brig Feltus of Remember Institute, who is out here doing big things in the spiritual, metaphysical, and general healing of humanity world. Today I like to start off with what I'm drinking. So today I'm actually drinking water because, my body is needing the hydration. So no tea, water too. Yep.
Me drink water too.
Yeah. So both Brig and I are here in Southern California, and I was looking at the weather for this week. Apologies, by the way, y'all, for the gardeners outside. They're usually not out here this time of day, but I think it's the neighbor. Anyway. Hi, Alicia Curl. Thank you for letting us know where you're joining from. So Alicia is joining from New Jersey and is also drinking water. Beautiful. As folks come in, just imagine you're coming into somebody's house. So don't just come in and lurk. Say hello. Let us know where you're joining from and what you might be sipping on or eating on as we have this conversation. But as I was saying, I was looking at the weather forecast for this weekend. It's going to hit the 90s where I am. I'm just,
right?
Yeah, it's going to be 90 over here for like 2 days in a row, like upper 80s.
Wow.
I'm like, it's just became spring.
Are you in the South Bay?
I'm in Inglewood.
Okay. Wow.
But still, it's Inglewood.
That's pretty warm for Inglewood because you get that ocean breeze right there. So
yeah. I mean, I remember like that would be more when I lived in the valley. I remember that, but I'm just like, wow, it's going to be. So that means it's going to be hot in the valley.
It's going to be really hot in the valley.
Yeah.
It's usually about 10 degrees hotter in the valley.
Oh, wow. So it's going to be hot for you then.
You're going to be in the pool.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, or coming over that way to the beach.
Yeah. Well, hopefully with all of the I'm saying that in quotes because I'm from Florida, all of the rain that we just had, there won't be at least an initial scare for the fires. Just
everybody behave yourselves with these.
But truly,
fires.
It's like high key. Most of them are like started by people.
Yes,
it's just so disrespectful.
We should behave ourselves better, and we should be allowing the native peoples of this land to do their work, their traditional work, which keeps this kind of thing from happening widely. So, yeah,
for sure. So I like to start off the convos by just touching base on where we are now, because we've collectively, obviously in the US, we are in the entering year 3 of our pandemic, essentially. But there's also been like, so much, I'm sure, for you, internal and external transformation and just, learning and all that kind of stuff. So just a brief check-in for you, and I'll do the same as well, of kind of what you took away from last year, from 2021.
Oh, wow. 2021 feels like such a long time ago. It's amazing how I remember at the beginning of 2020 when they first announced the pandemic and thinking to myself, oh, okay, this will be a few months and then we'll be fine. And then people around me started talking about, well, what if it's going on longer, and the stores are empty, and the shelves in the stores are empty, and people are being irrational, and all this stuff was happening. And I think I really began to develop more confidence in my own intuition, because I didn't feel the panic. I didn't feel the panic. And oftentimes when I'm the outlier, if I'm the person who's thinking or feeling things or perceiving things differently, I might question, well, if everybody else is feeling this, then what's wrong with me? And that's sort of just a lingering thing. If I consciously think about it, then I don't feel that way, obviously. But there is some lingering, little girl stuff in there where you want to have the same opinion as everybody else, or the same perspective as everybody else. So I kind of realized, I observed in myself a lot of that going on, and just becoming at peace with it, deciding to be at peace with being at peace, because I don't need to be in a panic like whoever is in a panic, and perhaps I can be of service to others by sharing my perspective. And, it's not to say that any of this has been easy, but I think that there are a lot of things that aren't easy that we need. That we actually need for our progression, that we need for our evolution.
Yeah.
Woo.
All right, so I'm gonna make a note on that, because we're gonna circle right back to that, because that's a really it's a spiritually mature perspective that I don't think folks really want to accept.
It's a tough perspective.
But I first want to circle back to what you said about making peace with being at peace. And that, I know in particular, I personally was also struggling with that originally. Like, just like, okay, we'll be okay. And I did also think we would just be a couple months, because that's only as long as it should have taken.
Hello.
Really, actually should have only been 3 to 6 months max that we dealt with that. But like you said, people are being irrational and just, the spiraling. And it's just like, why are we still here? Oh, because y'all don't actually care about one another. Okay. But
yeah, and care about a lot of things that don't really even exist, let alone matter. Just out of reality, and in these little pockets of fantasy or paranoia, or I call fear a fantasy of what could go wrong. So even fear I call fantasy. So not being connected or grounded in reality, being dissociated, stuck in these weird tribal just pockets of ideologies that are not real. I mean, not being present, out of panic or paranoia. So,
and really being limited in scope, because it's just like, it's not the first time we've dealt with sickness.
No, it's not. At some point about a year ago, I went and I looked up the Black Plague, because I wanted to know if what we're going through is as bad. No. I can't remember how many millions of people, hundreds of millions, I think, died.
Yeah.
And that is we're nowhere near that. And that's not to say that the deaths are not substantial to those who are in relationship with those deaths, and to all of us, But we also have not done the best we could to prevent those deaths, And I just think that part of that is the fear of not knowing, and being in an oppressive society where, you do get fed a lot of lies, and people are just beginning to wake up to that. You know how that goes when you first realize that you've been violated in some way. A lie is a violation. So if you when you first realize a violation.
Wait, hold on. I'm gonna let that sink with folks.
Okay.
Brig just said, A lie is a violation. I'll put that in the comments so y'all.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I know that that's just gonna go right over. Like, no.
yeah, anything that's not true, it's an attack.
Yeah,
you're being attacked by an untruth. It attacks your connection to reality. It attacks your connection to what is real. And so this has been happening since the beginning of the history of this country and basically any other Eurocentric colonized country.
mm-hmm.
And so, and capitalist country. So we get lied to all the time and deceived all the time for power and money.
Mm-hmm.
And so people are beginning to wake up to that. And when you first start waking up to something like that, the first thing you do is feel the offense of it. You know, and you just want to rail up against the quote unquote enemy, whether you actually know who the real enemy is or not. In fact, this is why a lot of times people get so caught up in persecuting someone before they even know if they're actually guilty of something. Hello. And even before they know what the gravity of something is, Will Smith. I'm just saying, you know, we have a lot of that in our behavior because of having been oppressed. So when and we're not self-aware of that. So it's one thing to have that kind of knowledge and to be self-aware of how it affects your behavior and your choices is a whole different thing. And most people are not aware. It's even a lot for most people to just acknowledge that they've been lied to. So I have a course that I teach that's for white people who want to learn about racism, and we teach them 20,000 years of the history of race. And there's so many things in that particular talk about the history that they are not taught in school. In fact, taught the opposite things. And it's the way that it impacts these students as they learn these things is profound. It's really profound. Like they get sick, they're like mourning like somebody died. It's really quite upsetting. And so the average person in the world hasn't done the work, you know, to be grounded and emotionally well and all of those things. And then you get that information, and what do you end up with? You end up with things like QAnon, you know, and all the other chaos that has gone on over the last couple of years. So, you know, I mean, just getting my own family to stop doing group outings, you know. I have my mom has some health issues, and she was still going to church and going out to dinner and wanting to have stuff for this person's birthday. I'm like, Mom, no, I'm not coming, and you should stay home. You know, just stay home. We don't actually know. Can we just like be patient and stay home for a little while? You know, just felt like the obvious thing to do. And we don't know. And a lot of people, instead of accepting that they don't know, form all these opinions, and then they want to share the opinions and then fight over the opinions. And then we're not even talking really about what's a solution anymore. It's just this idea over this idea, and they're like fighting with each other.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah, there's a lot of what I like to call selective forgetting. You know, forgetting that we've been here before in different contexts, and we've overcome.
Absolutely.
And where we are now compared to where we were even like 1,000 or 2,000 years ago, like we are so blessed.
Absolutely.
We're so wealthy. We have all of our needs met exceedingly and abundantly.
100%.
And it's just like, oh, y'all, like there's no, it's been wild to see that there hasn't been more of just an appreciation of what is here and a seeing of what is here. But maybe there is actually, maybe a part of that is people have been seeing and they're just like, I don't like what's here. And it's easier for me to be mad at something external rather than take responsibility for what I can do to change what's in my
Yeah,
dream.
I think we've been trained to think about things in very simple ways.
Mhm.
And there are layers to all of this. There's
Mhm.
layers, there's facets, there's dimensions that people don't necessarily connect with. And they all need to be considered at the same time. Part of why I became a metaphysician is to learn how to integrate mind, body, spirit. Body representing not just my actual physical body, but physical plane, anything. Okay. Mind representing intellect as an energy,
Mhm.
and spirit representing anything in the unseen that is not mind or body.
Mhm.
So integrating all three planes would have us really address all of the necessary components in order to be well. And
Mhm.
we're not taught to do that at all.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
taught 1 + 1 is 2 because we say so.
Mhm.
Just memorize it and move on to the next thing.
Mhm.
And that goes all the way up through into university years. We get taught things that are just simplified versions of the truth, and maybe not even that. Maybe they're just opinions, some of those things. And we're
Mhm.
taught to trust those things rather than explore and become masterful at anything, really. So then when we see people who are masterful, we think they're somehow extraordinary, but really what it is they've actually become one with or embodied whatever it is they're doing on all three planes.
Yeah. 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 So, do you remember when that shift happened for you of choosing to go down the path of integration?
Yeah. um, I would say about 15 years ago, I was having serious chronic back pain. I grew up on a farm,
Ooh.
and it was a real farm. Like, we built our own barn,
Mm.
we rode horses,
Oh.
we raised cattle and took them to the fair and competed and all that kind of stuff. So for real cowgirl. And
Yeah.
so I have a lot of injuries.
Mm.
Farm life is not delicate.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I have back injuries from horseback riding. And then in my 20s, I had a snowboarding accident. So I had some chronic back pain.
Mm.
And there was nothing was helping. I was going to the emergency room a couple times a year uh, just to address it. And at some point, I mentioned this on my Facebook, and somebody, one of my Facebook friends, inboxed me and said, "You should try this healing frequency technology." And she
Mm.
sent me a YouTube video of some healing frequencies, and she said,
Mm.
"Just listen to it at night while you're going to sleep." Simultaneously, my doctor had just put me into um, some physical therapy. And the physical therapist was using this machine where they put these nodes on my back.
Mhm.
And it was like a vibrating thing. And I
Mhm.
didn't ask a lot of questions about what it was. They just said it would help to relax my back. And then I'm listening to this healing frequency YouTube video every night before I go to sleep. And after about a week or so, I started to recognize my back was getting better. It wasn't hurting as much. I could bend easier. I could reach up higher. I could pick things up from the floor. I could tie my shoes again.
Mhm.
I literally could not. My husband was helping me tie my shoes.
Mhm.
So I asked the physical therapist, "What is this machine that you're using?" Because I didn't think it was the video. And the the physical therapist said, "Oh, well, these are frequencies, and we are applying them directly to your muscles
Mhm.
to help to relax them so that they can recover." And I said, "What?" I said, can you tell me what their frequencies are? It was the same frequencies in this video.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him what I was doing. And he said, oh, yeah, all of that helps.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, what is this? And why don't we know about this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why is this not something everybody knows? So I started researching frequencies and healing with frequencies. And it turns out that this is very ancient, comes out of Egypt. And I'm like, why do people in the West not really understand this? Why do you have to be a scientist to know this?
And
exactly. So I found out that the Gregorian chants were healing frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
The Catholic Church was using all of this Egyptian technology and calling it spirit, Christian healing, like it was God magic, and it's actually physical plain science. This is actual science.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, probably most magic is actual science that we just don't understand yet.
I mean, it's the same
So,
to me. It's just
there is no separation. And this is what it came down to for me, is that I started really studying this stuff and realized, oh my God, there's no separate planes. We use the separation in order to communicate the different aspects, but they are all one. And if we try and address one without addressing them all, then you don't end up with a complete transformation. Mm-hmm. And so, wow.
Yeah.
I found out the history about this, and that at some point there was an English king who decided, nope, we don't want the people to have access to this. We don't want them to sing these chants themselves. We don't want their instruments tuned to these frequencies, because then they don't need us. Mm-hmm. So the Church of England and the Catholic Church decided all the Gregorian chants would be tuned differently. The instruments, all Western instruments, even up until this day, our note system, all of that is tuned off from these frequencies. Mm-hmm. So that just led me down into this rabbit hole of understanding, wanting to explore metaphysics and understand how there's science in all of this, and how the Egyptians in ancient times thought of spirituality, art, science, technology as one discipline. Mm-hmm. So the Scribes of Egypt, they had whole villages of scribes that were people from all around the world, people from Asia, people from Europe, people from everywhere, all the 5 major religions and the occultist religions, all would come pilgrimage to Egypt to study with these scribes, including Jesus, who, as a toddler, when he was escaping, when they were trying to find him and kill him, he and his cousin John and their parents escaped to Egypt. Mm-hmm. And he was taught by the Scribes of Egypt. And so when he went back into the Middle East and Rome and all of that area again, what he learned, they didn't know nothing about. So they thought of it as these are miracles. This is magic. And this is quite radical, what he's doing. Mm-hmm. And so he became a threat, right? So all of that is like the beginning of the story of why we have been conditioned to think the way we think. Mm-hmm. It's much more complex, of course. There's all kinds of principles. There's actually 7 basic foundational principles that people can read in a book called the Kybalion. Mm-hmm. They're very similar also in the Kabbalah, which you can tell mm-hmm. those words are very similar. The Kybalion is coming from the Emerald Tablets, which were from Egypt, mm-hmm. and contained these 7 foundational principles of the universe that are true about everything. Mm-hmm. They also align with all 5 religions. They align with every science, at the beginning of every science. Mm-hmm. So that's how I got to being really passionate about this idea of bringing everything back together, because any place we see dysfunction or dis-ease or undesirable outcomes, it's because we are disintegrated, and we need to reintegrate.
Yeah, it registers as incoherence, right? But yeah, no, I totally resonate with what you're saying about the different dimensions. Like they're different frequencies, but it is all one. And when I was going through my healing journey, which started about 20 years ago, it was like 2001, but earlier. Yeah, just learning about and really working with the energy body, and then starting to get into different states of consciousness and where that really registered and what those frequencies were. And then I also had to use that machine as well for myself, because at the time I was dancing later on, and then just the back pain and everything. So yeah, working like directly on the muscles with the TENS machine to loosen up and just all of that. Yeah, I mean and it's all the same. And that's where I started to see like, oh, this is all the same languages, but people are getting in their way because they're tied to language rather than the principle and the concept of the thing.
Well, and separation. So, you know, when you grow up in the church, that's how I grew up. My mother is a minister of music. So I grew up in the African Methodist Church. The way that church teaches reality is that there is a separate plane that we call the spiritual plane, and that you're supposed to deny the physical plane for the spiritual plane. I mean, this is a foundational piece of Western Christianity. I'm not saying that's how it was originally taught in the mysticism stages of Christianity, but Western Christianity teaches separation between the body and the spirit, and that you're to be willing to sacrifice one for the other, but they are intertwined. So you cannot say that you are spiritually sound if you are also not physically sound.
Ooh, that part.
Yeah.
That part. Yeah.
So, you know, there's something off. There's something out of integrity. If there's any kind of dis-ease or upset in your system in any way. So and I would say this is true even about people who aspire to some sort of art. You know, if you are aspiring to be a dancer, if you don't understand the science of dance, the way the body works, then you're going to injure yourself. If you don't understand how to let go of the physical or mental ideation around dance, then you can't create original work. You know, you have to be able to let go and manifest, you know, and you can't do that if you don't know how to put the physical or the mental part of it.
The preconceived notions. Yeah.
Yes. And this is what practice is for. All kinds of practice.
And it's what the importance of sitting at the foot of those who've done it.
Yes.
So they can teach you, because you don't know.
Yeah, but if most people, when they watch someone do something great, they think it's a magic trick. You know, they think this person is magical in some way. And it's why I don't use that word a lot. It's why I don't, advertise myself as teaching people magic. Even your profession, your focus is mostly on astrology, yes? Or planet science.
It's a lot of things. So I use astrology framework, but so I have two programs. The Lightworker Incubator is really more about the integration work. So opening up to the different dimensional aspects of the soul, really actually grounding that in the body, strengthening, clarifying the clairs, opening up to your spirit team, your family, like all of that. That's that program. And then the other program is really astrology based, and that's for the entrepreneurs. So yeah, for that.
Yeah. And people think that is, even people who believe in it think it's magic. They think it is purely spiritual, but they don't actually understand. The planets are physical.
Yeah.
The stars are physical. They're actually out there.
And we're all
And
connected.
so
Like,
there's a reason why we're connecting those things and studying them. The Kemetic people, the original Egyptians, studied the stars for at least, we know, at least 60,000 years, because they recorded the precession of the equinoxes, which is 26,000. And in order to record a pattern, you have to have observed the whole thing from start to finish and then seen it start over again. So at least 52,000 years, I would say, at least. Right? So, and that's scientific study. So what you're teaching, people think it's superstitious. They think it is, and it makes no sense because farmers know.
Right.
Right?
But the selective forgetting. The selective forgetting. It's just like, no, this what you see me do, what you see people like you do, this is a skill. Like that, the Lightworker Incubator in particular, like that's a Cliff Notes versions of at least 2 decades of my personal work that I'm doing.
Yes.
Like that's not, here's a couple crystals, go play. Like 2 decades of work.
Yeah.
Hours
yeah.
a day.
And this is also why, anytime with the internet now, with social media, anytime you see people start just casually posting, like I have a dish full of crystals that sits underneath my laptop's on a raised stand, and I have and it's a very expensive. The dish itself is expensive.
Wait, show me the
so there's some chakra stones in there.
What's the greenish pyramid? Is that
I don't remember, and this is why you don't ever see me post a crystal online, because if I can't tell you specifically what it is, at some point I knew and I put it there because of that. But I don't hold it all in my head. That's too much. However, I am not about appearances. So I don't share all of my practices online because that would not be sufficient to serve people unless I'm going to actually become an expert in that thing. So I try and stick to my lane in that sense, because I also don't want to promote the capitalist part of it, where the crystal industry now. Now you got to worry about what they're treated with, and where they came from and how they were mined, and
if they're real, if they're lab grown.
Yeah. It's like you don't know unless you've actually taken the time to study, and people are very much into shortcuts. So and this stuff is actual science. It's science. And it's been downplayed as if it's not, because it empowers the people, and empowering the people does not serve the elites and those in power who want to keep their power.
What I tell my clients in any program, I'm like, the first thing is be the scientist.
Yes.
Your job, I'm going to be presenting things. Your job is to take the thing, test it out, see what comes up for you. Test theory. Does it work or not? Because some stuff, again, depending on how your soul is oriented, what your purpose is, it will enhance or it'll be diminished. But you won't know that unless you actually walk the path, rather than just being like, oh, well, this is supposed to do this. So if I'm not getting particular results with this thing, then it means that something's wrong with me.
Yeah.
And like, well, no.
I was always kind of underwhelmed with conventional school. And I was an explorer, and I loved reading encyclopedias and, exploring things. And so, diving into this stuff has been just wonderful for me. Everything I've done in my life, I have to say, I didn't train in a conventional way for. And I ended up either having to be autodidactic and learn it on my own, or learn it along as I go in some kind of way. I think that that's really forced me into recognition that what we think of as authority or experts in certain things doesn't really matter as much as we think it does. It matters to a certain extent.
Yeah.
I have teachers even to this day that I learn from, and I learn from everywhere because I practice something called beginner's mind.
Yeah.
And so being curious, having a childlike curiosity, not being attached to looking good or looking like I know a lot of things, being curious. Like if someone disagrees with me, oh, why do you feel that way? Oh, okay. We don't have to agree.
Right. It's not a personal attack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just the other day I wrote something because I've been dealing with this family crisis recently, and my family, it's been really interesting. My family, the resentment around the way that I live and the way that I move through the world has been coming up and out during this. And I'm like, in the beginning, feeling like, what, why? Like feeling attacked or feeling, not believed or, dismissed and all that, not heard, all of this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then I realized, I'm upset not just because they don't trust me. I'm upset because I don't trust myself. And nobody taught me how to trust myself. In fact, I have this very clear feeling like every time I say I trust myself, or I am intuitive, or I'm walking a righteous path, or any of those kind of things, I'm practicing integrity impeccably. If I say those things, I feel this little creeping shame come in, like, like I must sound arrogant, or like what kind of audacity do I have? Like, who do I think I am? Like, it's almost like a little voice of my mother saying, who do you think you are?
I was just about to ask whose voice is that, because it's not yours natively. It's your mom.
Oh,
yeah. Okay.
It's probably my mom. Yeah. And she meant well.
Yeah.
This was her way of trying to teach humility. But in the process of that, anytime I am in a situation where I need to say to myself, I trust myself, there's a little nagging voice in there that I have to contend with. And I don't want to contend with that all the time.
Yeah.
And recently I wrote a thing where let me just see if I can grab it real quick.
Yeah, please share.
And I posted it on Facebook, and it already triggered a couple of people, and I knew it would, but whatever.
I that's important. So I want to say that again for folks who are watching, whether live or on the recording. I hope that lands to everyone how important and how powerful that is to be at a place in your journey where you can see and perceive your thoughts. That alone is a big leap.
Yeah, self-observation is important.
And like, oh, wait, is this mine?
Mm-hmm. And there's a few tools that I've used that make that easier. I know it's really hard to self-critique and self-observe from a neutral place. So, what I'm doing is, first of all, meditation. Meditation, in the practice of meditation, you focus your attention on something. I use my breath. So I focus my attention on my breath, and inevitably my mind's wandering off somewhere. I notice it. I bring it back to my breath. I don't spin out, oh my God, I'm not doing this right. I hate this. This is terrible. I'm never going to be good at this, blah, 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 blah. I don't do all that. I simply notice that I got disintegrated and bring myself back into integration. Period. That's it. That is the practice of integrity. And in a social sense, it is noticing your own actions, noticing the impact of your actions. And then if you cause an impact that's undesirable for yourself or others, being willing to acknowledge what you did or said or thought or felt or expressed. Acknowledge how it impacted the world around you or yourself or your job or whatever it is. And then repair and prevent, right? Without all of the guilt and shame and sorry and all that. You don't need all that. You only need to, it is almost a scientific thing. It's scientific observation. Oh, this doesn't work. Let's do this differently. It's really that simple. And that has saved me so much inner turmoil and shame and, shame that leads to being dishonest and lying to people or pretending like you're better than you are or trying to be perfect or, I used to obsess. Like if I did something and someone complained about it, I would be obsessing about that for years. Like I can still remember times when people had the courage to come to me and say, this thing you did, it hurt my feelings. I can still remember almost every single one of those. Because for me, I was triggered into shame or feeling not good enough or feeling like something's wrong with me because I didn't see it or whatever that was, or like I'm being persecuted, right? Like if I didn't see it the same way, feeling like the other person was attacking me or persecuting me in some way. So this practice removes all of that because it's not about right or wrong. It's about I did this and this was the result. Do I like that result? No. Let me just acknowledge that. Yeah. And when you do that with another person, they actually get that you're committed to yourself and being in integrity and having the results you want. So anyway, so those practices, meditation, integrity, the Buddhist version of humility, which is oneness. They have humility and they have conceit. Zen Buddhist version of conceit is superiority, inferiority, and equality. The assertion of those three is putting yourself in comparative thinking, comparing yourself with others. So those practices helped me to have more confidence in myself. And I can tell when I'm tripping and I can tell when I'm afraid, and that's making me see things in a different way most of the time. And when I'm not sure, I also know when I'm not sure. So I have surrounded myself with people who are courageous enough and who love me enough to just say, you tripping. You need a timeout.
Not a timeout.
And they'll say that to me. They'll be like, yeah, maybe you need to go meditate on that for a minute, and so this is the result of that. I am allowed to aspire to be righteous, even if somebody's triggers don't like it. I am allowed to see clearly, even if it seems like few others see what I see. Why are these dissonances all around me? Perhaps it's so I stay connected to reality. It's not punishment that I vex. I'm allowed to be me, even if me vexes them. What I aspire to align with is immutably true. If I succeed, it may offend the misaligned. This is allowed. It is inevitable, in fact. I don't need to obsess over false humility when practicing the real thing.
Listen, the false humility.
Because the real thing is powerful. I'm allowed to be powerful without someone's smallness shaming it, without me shaming it. It's challenging because most of the power I saw growing up was actually domination. Those people are the ones today. They feel a way about me, which no matter what I do, I cannot assuage. I have peace. I am allowed to be powerful. The sun vexes. It also gives light. It minds its business and does what suns do. In integrity with the universe, my ego is chill. I'm just here to shine. But still, don't be vexed. Let's be great together. Okay?
Listen, from one sun to another. Thank you. Like truly. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. That might actually have to be our clip.
You know what's funny is it's even as I'm reading it, it feels really audacious and arrogant to me.
Interesting.
And because I'm very sensitive and I
Mm-hmm.
feel people, I feel their energy. And quite often, that's the first place people go when they hear that kind of sentiment or feel that kind of energy. My energy is very powerful. I come in a room and you can feel me. I quite often have people think I'm flirting with them uh, when I'm not. In fact, a lot of women,
What's your sun sign?
girl, please, we are what, a day apart birthdays?
I keep forgetting. Are you the 16th?
Yes, I am.
Okay. What's your rising though? Or your moon?
I don't remember. Maybe we should get together and you do my chart. I know that I have Gemini and Aquarius, and I don't know which is which.
Oh, okay. Okay. Cool.
We gotta get together. You can do my chart.
Yeah, no, I'd be honored to do that. But yeah, I was just like, what is that?
But yeah,
But
so I'm very intimate. You know, my energy is intimate. I'm when I was teaching with One Taste, which is the orgasmic meditation community, um, the founder would call me penetrating. She said I was penetrating, which to her meant that my energy gets into people without their conscious invitation. And so I had to learn how to sort of manage that a bit so that people don't get the wrong idea, because I was getting a lot of women especially, thinking that I was flirting with them. I'm like, oh, I'm not gay.
Yeah.
I'm just me. This is just me.
This is just what love feels like. So
Yeah. I'm just here. We just chilling.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, so what you were saying though with the that feeling of, being able to pick up the uncomfortableness or the triggers from others, that reminded me and circled me back to what you were saying earlier in our conversation about how that toughness, some of the tough things that come up are actually necessary. Right? And so that dissonance, and I think you had also mentioned this too, about how the dissonance is helpful and necessary for helping us to affirm our coherence.
It's penetrating. It's penetration. So we develop all these shells that keep us comfortable. I like to be in my house, and I've created an environment for myself that feels like I'm on vacation. So I don't have to go away from my house to feel relief from the world. I can just be at home. And I know how to set boundaries for myself. And I don't answer the phone if I need to have quiet time. And I will, my husband has a room in our house where he can go and play with his fucking Legos. So when there's tension, he can just go in his room and play with his Legos, and the world is fine, right? So we develop all of these ways to keep ourselves comfortable. And if something comes along that disturbs that, we automatically think it's bad. That's not the case.
Yeah.
There is no escaping death. And death is not real. How about that for a paradox? So there's no actual dying. There's only transforming. And so, our fear of death is an attachment to one part of our transformation and in favor over another. And it's because we don't like to not know. We don't like not knowing. We get something, we like it, we want to hold on to it forever. We don't want it to wear off. We don't want it to change. this is why we have attachment in relationships in the ways that we do. So, you know, when something disrupts, like a pandemic happens, especially for people who live in a society, you know, America's PR is all about comfort. Come to America. You can live the life you dream of. You can have the house and the fence around the house. You got a fence around your house. Hello, a fence around your house. Why we need a fence? You know, it's all about isolating and creating your little bubble that nobody comes in without your permission, and you don't share it with anybody, and everybody's on their own. That gets disrupted, we're in a panic. I'd say at least 10, 15 people I know immediately wanted to go out and buy a gun. Yeah. People who would normally even consider buying a gun. Pandemic hit. There's no toilet paper in the store. Let's go buy a gun. Because you don't know when somebody's going to come knocking on your door and try and steal your toilet paper, I guess. I don't know. But that happened. And a lot of people bought guns.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have been very afraid of, you know, the world coming to an end and all that kind of stuff. Well, what if there is no end?
I think that's the scariest part for folks. That's the scariest part.
Because it means they'll have to accept that things change. But things have always been changing.
Yeah.
Now than they were 100 years ago.
The selective forgetting.
I'm 57, and yesterday I just watched the film Summer of Soul for about the fifth time. Because I was 3 years old when that took place.
Oh, wow.
And to watch that really, it actually made me feel really connected to my parents. Because they would have been in their 20s at that time. And, you know, that whole Black Power movement and this huge, I mean, it just really touched me to think about that and then realize, oh my God, things are so different now. And some things are still the same.
Yeah. Ooh, with the music and that. Oh my God.
So amazing. And you could tell, like, this was, I don't know, I think maybe the 60s was where we were starting to come into Aquarius or something. I'm not, again, this is not my expertise, but I know that we are in that next age now. We're stepping into this next age. We're still in the beginning of it, I believe.
Yeah.
And Aquarius represents some of that integration. You know, freedom comes from integration. And I think Aquarius is about expressing fullness of yourself. A lot of people think of it as just being about expressing your sexuality or your creativity, but it is the fullness of yourself. And that's what I saw in that film, is that there's gospel singers and there's, you know, complete libertines like Sly Stone and, you know, all these people on the same stage and the people in the crowd just receiving it all. I mean, it's all true. So,
yeah. Yeah, Aquarian. I'm partial to Aquarian energy because most of my friends are Aquarius, and my South Node is in Aquarius. So usually somebody around me has some kind of Aquarius placement in their chart.
That's interesting. Yeah, most of my friends are either Taurus or Virgos.
Well, I have a stellium in Virgo, so.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I think Virgo and Aquarius do really well together because Aquarians are actually really hard workers. Like I've always been pleasantly surprised at the work ethic of Aquarius. Because it seems so unexpected because they don't seem like they're like the worker bees, but they are really worker bees.
Creators.
They're in, right?
When you understand creation and gender energy, then it makes perfect sense because they're generators.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, Virgo, obviously Virgo is the same, but they both are very creative, but also really attuned to what's necessary to do good work.
My Virgos, all the Virgos in my life are like regulators in one way or another. You know, like our mutual friend. He's not a regulator in an intentional sense, but who he is and how he operates is a regulation for me, you know, and because it sets boundaries, you know, and most of my Virgo friends are like that. They're kind of like, they create a safe container for me.
Yeah. What's that
So
earth
that I can
energy?
just, yeah.
Yeah. So you can be flowing water without having to maintain the
Oh
shell of
yeah,
your
I can
process.
be audacious. I
Yeah.
can let loose, you know, that energy of I'm powerful. I can create and I can be audacious. All of that feels safer because I
Yeah.
surround myself with people who will respect that about me and at the same time not let me wreck myself.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
And also won't buckle in the
yes.
presence of your power.
Yes.
Full
That
stop. So
thing. That part.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited.
Yes.
Well, we're almost at our time.
Can't believe it. That went
Yeah,
fast.
great. I know that's why I just like I love conversations. We teach us so many great things. Um, let's see. What do I want to end on? Anything popping up for you that you want to have like as a last topic?
Hmm. I would just encourage people, all the stuff that I've been talking about today is I may be making it sound a little more simple than it is. I would encourage people to study and to learn and to get into communities of people who are studying and learning and
Mhm,
exploring.
mhm,
Anybody who's doing somatic work, anyone who's doing astrological work,
mhm,
hermeticism,
mhm,
metaphysics,
mhm.
and but people with lineages, so who've studied and really done their work. Um, Screw the surface stuff.
Yeah.
You know, you're wasting your time. Just go ahead and dive in.
Mhm.
It's actually fun.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. Like I'll just say this in my way because I know you're being nice. Um, but folks just have to step up.
Say it
Um,
again.
I said folks just have to step up in their
Oh
studying.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
if you're not engaging with someone or something that is scaring you a little bit or making you
Mhm.
feel like, oh, I am not ready for this or whatever, that's exactly where you need to go because it's outside of your comfort zone and that's where you're actually going to learn and grow. Those folks who do that work, they don't just pop up, right? Whether or not they've, been in business or like have a public offering, like they've been doing work for a while. So um, let time in be your standard in terms of who you go to for that learning. And speaking of that, shameless plug for Brig. Brig runs the Remember Institute, and her info for the Institute is below in the description. So definitely check out her work. Are you currently enrolling for
Um,
anything?
yeah, well, we're always enrolling for stuff, and if we don't have a course with a date yet, the courses are there. You can get on the mailing list to find out when they're available.
Mm-hmm.
We have everything from Hermetic courses. We have a 3-year long program that's broken down into year-long phases.
Mm-hmm.
That is a deep dive into Hermeticism and comparative religion and a bunch of other stuff. We're teaching people how to be true magicians,
Mm-hmm.
which has nothing to do. Well, I won't say nothing. It's not what you think it is. Most
Right.
people, yeah. So we also have for people racialized as white our curriculum for diversity consciousness, which is different from any other diversity work you'll find. It is true decolonizing work. It's not geared towards guilt or shame. It's also about freeing white people from their own oppression as well.
Their trauma.
And understanding, yes, that there's a lot of trauma. Lynching didn't start in America.
Listen, if you don't understood,
guillotines, all that stuff is European.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we have a wide variety of courses that I think would benefit. Our motto is, may we remember what we once knew before we forgot who we were. And that is a tribute to the practice of Sankofa, which is go back and get wisdom from the past and let it interact with the present and apply it in the present so that we can have a better life. We can live better, love better.
Yeah, yes. So follow Brig at the Instagram handle that's listed below. Remember Institute, website's there. Sign up for the newsletter. Newsletter is always the best way to stay in contact with all of us because y'all know how the social media streets are. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. And then
trying to work against us.
Right. And then for me, enrollment just opened for Sovereign, my coaching program for entrepreneurs. So enrollment is open all month. I am, for this next cohort, want to be working with 6 people. So if you are an entrepreneur looking to do business differently based on astrology and nature frameworks to grow your business sustainably and to show up differently, come through. We will be starting right at the beginning of May, just after the in Taurus. So it's going to be a really powerful, beautiful, abundant container to sit with for that cohort coming up. So yeah, so those are our things. Of course, please share this video. This was a wonderful conversation. Please help get the word out for that. Subscribe to the channel, please. And I believe that is it. I'll have a clip up for this sometime this week, so be on the lookout. But I think I want to, if I have her permission, to have the clip be the piece that you wrote.
Oh yeah, you can use it.
That was powerful. That was really powerful.
It's been a fun hour. It went very fast, and I feel good that we got to do this.
Yeah,
I'm really happy that we got to do this. Let's do it again soon.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, if you're open, because I'll be having these conversations intermittently throughout the year. I'm gonna balance them out a bit because I'm gonna start doing a bunch of podcasts too, so I don't want to overwhelm myself. Right. But I do want to, if you're open, I'll have you back, and I definitely will have Deanna back and some of the other folks. So
I'm definitely open.
Yeah, cool. All right, y'all. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining us. For those of you who are live, I appreciate the presence and the love and the comments. And yeah, have a blessed rest of your week. Make the best of it. And God willing, I'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.